Bonjour, y'all. This is Mandy with a Southern Potager, and today I'm going to be planting some seeds, which is kind of what I love to do. This is a set of seeds that I put in the fridge using stratification, specifically a method that is called the paper towel method that my gardener has done a great deep dive on, and I'll link that below in case you haven't seen that. So I have 3 types of flowers here today that I want to get into dirt, but what I don't want is for me to have to spend a ton of soil and space to be able to get these in the ground and hopefully germinating. So my plan is to bulk sow them into these little KCups that I am recycling into seed starting cups. If you haven't seen the video that I did on using KCups for seed starting, you can check that below. I'll make sure that I put a link in there too. So for my potager project, my garden that is going to be a mix of flowers and edible plants, I want to be able to fill it with as many herbs as possible. And a lot of the herbs are actually perennials that need stratification in order to trick them into believing that they have gone through winter and can therefore start germinating. So what I have here is echinacea. I have calendula. These ones are really kind of cute. They look like little wormies. And then over here is rudbeckia. Now, all 3 of these should be perennializing in the garden once they've actually germinated. So I'm really hoping that I will get a chance to see these bloom in the garden. I've tried both echinacea and calendula before. Calendula didn't, I think it might have come up, but I don't really remember. And it certainly didn't bloom in my garden, which was a bummer. And then the echinacea, I had bought 2 little adorable little purple coneflower plants. And then the neighbors walked their dogs down the street and let them kill my plants. You can kind of imagine how a dog might assassinate a plant. I don't really want to go into any more detail on that, but hopefully we'll be able to use the bulk germination for these 3 plants and give them a spot out in the garden once the weather gets past super cold at night. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I have some leftover soil here because unfortunately I have been trying to start fruit trees here for a number of years. A couple years ago, I bought some American persimmon seeds, and those seeds, I bought 7, and I want to say 2 germinated. 1 germinated immediately, and he was off to the races, and he was doing great. And the second one took about 6 or 8 months to germinate, and then it came up, and it was a great little tree. Unfortunately, in my house, I have an enemy, and that enemy is a mouse. And this mouse decided that he would, or she, assassinate my tree. So it came along, and it didn't eat the leaves, as you can tell. It didn't eat the stems. It just chopped my tree down. And that means that this soil, which is, great potting soil that I had already germinated the seeds in, is now kind of up for grabs. So I'm sorry, little buddy. It had actually, I don't know if you can see this, but it had actually sprouted an extra little leaf to try to survive, but then it just didn't work out. So instead of keeping this dead persimmon around, we're going to use this soil in our seed starting cups for the flowers. So, oh, it's so sad. I'm so sorry, sir. Oh, your roots were so pretty too. Oh, golly. Oh, that's a shame. We have some of his leaves. I say his because every tree in my little house gets a name, and all the trees get boy names, and all the plants get girl names. So what I'm doing here is just kind of freeing the soil up around and using, I think this was Earl's leaves as some nice little infinitesimal mulch, biomass in here. The tiniest biomass. Okay. That looks like it's done well enough that I can get going. All right, so I filled the first cup. These have drainage. I just cut holes in the bottom with a knife. The drainage for these has worked pretty well for me, actually. I don't think they're like the most ideal seed starting medium, or container, actually. The medium is the soil, obviously. But for someone who's trying to reuse what they have and trying to transition out of KCups, or in our case, we use them as backup these days, it's awesome. I was so pleased when my husband came up with that idea. So now, that's 3, one more. There, a little bit of Earl. Every flower needs a little bit of Earl. Okay. So I'm going to wet these down. This is a spray bottle that has 1 to 3 parts hydrogen peroxide to water. And I've been using this for a couple of years to stem the tide of the fungus gnats. I don't know if you guys have had any problems with fungus gnats with your seed starting, but they've been miserable for me. And I am just not going to let little bugs destroy my plants, you know? These seeds are expensive. Okay. So, for bulk seeding, it's not really all that difficult. You just grab your seeds. They've been moistened on this paper towel for 2 weeks. I set the calendar for today, and I saw it yesterday. I was so excited, and I knew I just wanted to share this experience. So that's the video. So we're putting all the seeds. No, you go in the cup, dear. In the cup. Yep. You too. In here, all together. And the thinking is that if you have poor germination, you won't even really know, because you'll only see the ones that are succeeding. And then you can take those, back you go, little guy, and put them into bigger cups. And I use this for my tomatoes. I used it for basil. Let me show you. These guys are still really small, but I sowed a lot of basil, a lot. And then once they sprouted, I just got myself out my little plant tweezers and used those to separate out the seedlings really delicately. And if that's something that you're interested in seeing, I can totally do a video when these guys come up. Because I'm thinking positively this year that I'm going to have just a ton of seeds available. Okay, so that is, oh goodness. 1 second, I realized I don't have a way to mark these. I'm gonna go get a pen. And I have some masking tape. And hopefully this is dry enough. I'll stick. And this is a Staples Duramark marker. So far it's been working pretty well with all of my garden tags. They seem to stay very nice and dark. You were echinacea. We see. And I don't think I need to write out that entire word. That would be a lot, right? Okay. So that's the first lady done, or as I say, school of ladies. What is a group of ladies? Flock? A gaggle? Yeah, I'll go with gaggle. A gaggle of ladies. All right, second up is calendula. Little wormy guys. Looks like everybody's done a pretty good job of staying moist for the 2-week duration of their sleep in the fridge. Come on out. Thank you. And what I'm going to do is mark this first. That will save me some time. C A L. Oh, that's some beautiful writing. And you get a little label. Voila. Awesome. Okay, now just going to gather up our little wormies. Wormies. I'm not seeing any actual sprouting going on, so I was kind of hoping that they would just start magically sprouting in the fridge, but it might just be that they need to warm up first. We keep the house at about, trying to think, about 72. It's pretty warm in here. And we are in northern Alabama, zone 7B. So once these sprout and they get enough true leaves, they should be ready to pretty much go out into the garden, because our frost date, our last frost date here, is actually April 3rd. Now, I'm sure you guys know that it's just a guideline, and last year we had a full-on like hard freeze, snow, everything that took out my tomatoes, and I had to start all over again. But in this case, I've been keeping an eye on the overnight low temperatures, and I don't think I'm going to be putting the flowers out until, or at least the seedlings out until like the 9th or so, because it's going to be about like, down to the 40s. And I put a lot of little seedlings out early because I wanted to be able to get a jump on it. I put some basil out, and I put hollyhocks out. Some, what else did I put out? I put some, I was going to say something, the chamomile. My chamomiles, I put some of those out, and I put some yarrow out. Yeah, I know. I was really naive. And the only things that survived were the hollyhocks. And that was only, I think there's only 2 out of the 3 that I put out that survived. So it's a real bummer that I murdered all those little plants. But I wanted to start planting. I've been eager to start this potager project ever since I discovered 2 YouTube channels. And I will link them both below because if you haven't seen these, oh, they make my heart sing. This is Whatchya. You excuse me a second. D. And I'll put a B in there because people normally don't pronounce the D. I didn't even know I had it until I started reading the packet. So the first channel that really inspired me and is Siloe Oliveira, sorry, at Southern Homestead and Suburban Homestead. Golly, I'm so bad at this stuff. So used to saying Southern Potager. And he is gardening in Maryland. And he's probably the most inspiring individual I'll ever see. I mean, he dresses like a Victorian gentleman as he's gardening. He's an artist. And so he is planning his garden through the lens of art history and design. It's very, very cool. He is also the one that I saw first doing this bulk sowing method for saving potting soil and space. And started it this season for the first time, and I gotta say, it's so far it's working really well. All right. Get some guys in there. And a little spritzy doodah. And the second channel that has really made me interested in creating a potager garden is the Elliott Homestead. They are farming in, golly, I think it's Colorado. She's also zone 7B, but it's a completely different zone. It really is interesting to see how the last frost date is really just an indication of when to start seeds. It doesn't talk about climate. It gives you no indication of what kind of plants would do well in your area. It really is a contrast between what I'm doing here in Alabama and what she's doing on the other side of the country. But in any case, her potager garden is just to die for. It's so beautiful. The first one that I ever saw was in a BBC show. I think it's called Welcome Back to the Chateau, about a family who bought a chateau and turned it into a hotel. And it was that traditional French potager garden that he renovated and planted there that really sparked my interest. So I really wanted to create one of those in my front yard because that's my southern exposure area. And that's where I can actually contribute to the neighborhood and make it a pretty place for people as they drive by and as they walk their dogs and their families go for walks, that they would be able to have a lovely space to enjoy. So that's my plan. But I'm going to be going slowly. I'm starting with some seeds. I have low budget and low energy, so we'll see how far I get this year. But I really hope that you spend some time with me as I go along on this journey. We've got our little seedling ladies already tucked into bed, and I will be putting these in the window. I think I don't have any room. I only have one grow light, and I don't have any protected space right now. That's going to change, but I don't have any protected outdoor space right now. So once I get that set up, then next year's seed starting will be a completely different thing. I'm so excited. But right now, we're going to take these ladies, I'm going to put them out into the sun, make sure they keep moist, and I will let you know if they do any sort of sprouting. Okay? Thank you so much for watching, and merci beaucoup. Ba 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 ba.